Hello, I'm Arun Malhotra and welcome to ETAuto Unplugged Season 3. In ETAuto Unplugged, we discuss with industry leaders on various facets of the diverse auto industry. And to get a ringside view, what happens in it, what are the changes, what is the shape of things to come. And today we're talking a very interesting topic which doesn't focus specifically anything on two-wheelers or four-wheelers, but focuses on the entire EV auto ecosystem. And the auto ecosystem has changed dramatically over the last decade, or especially in the last 5 years. And why? What is driving this change? What is happening? Where do we stand today? And what will happen in the times to come? And what is the role the government, the policy makers, the industry association, the manufacturers, the auto industry will have to do in order to ensure that India emerges as a global auto hub? And for this, I am joined by a special guest who's well known in the auto industry. He's the voice of the auto industry, and he has a very sharp, clear insight of the changes happening, whether in terms of technology, whether in terms of customers, whether in terms of policies, whether in terms of manufacturing. And I'm talking of nobody else than Mr. Ashim Sharma, who is the senior partner in NRI, that is the Nomura Research Institute. Welcome, Ashim.
Thank you.
Pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you very much.
And Ashim, before we get into this very interesting topic, I just want to know something about you, about your background, your schooling to college, your journey from the school days.
So I was raised in Shimla, in Himachal Pradesh.
Okay.
I did my schooling there.
Achha.
Then I went for my mechanical engineering from NIT Hamirpur, which is also in Himachal. It was both by chance and choice that I got mechanical, and I pursued that. Then from there I joined Mahindra in product development. At that time, the product development center was in Nasik. And after working there for a couple of years, I went for my MBA in manufacturing and operations from SP Jain, Mumbai. After that, I joined the Tata Group in Tata Strategic, and that's where my consulting journey started.
So your consulting journey has been there for how many years now?
So since 2009, I've been doing consulting. So 17 years now.
17 years now. And your experience in manufacturing or in the industry as such, directly, without consulting, would be
so it's about 20, 21 years.
Okay, great, great. So clearly you've seen a lot, and in the 15, 16 years, dramatic changes happened. Now, Ashim, if you just step back and look at the last 10 years, what are the things which you think have dramatically changed? If you're taking a snapshot of the industry in 2015 and now we're in 2025, what has really changed, which is very, very different from what existed at that point of time?
So I think one very clear difference that we all see today is electrification. So it was kind of very minuscule back then, and now it sort of is becoming more and more mainstream across.
So when you talk of electrification, is it only with respect to EV or respect to electronics coming into the industry even?
So first I'm talking in terms of EV, that is the electrified powertrain coming in. Of course, electronic content, which has gone up because there's been a very strong focus towards getting more and more comfort features in the vehicle, connectivity in the vehicle. All of that has led to a resurgence in terms of electronics getting into the vehicle. Then we've also seen a lot of things around styling. So like the SUV body style that you see is sort of so very prominent today. It wasn't like that a couple of years back. We've also seen customers becoming more and more distinct, which has then led to that kind of a proliferation of variety of models. And that's across form factors, whether it's two-wheelers, four-wheelers, all of them. So very distinct customer personas and what they want. That's something which has come in a large way that we've seen. Apart from that, also autonomy. So of course, we don't have driverless vehicles here right now, but ADAS and all of that started becoming more and more commonplace. I think those are sort of big changes that we've seen. Apart from something which is sort of accelerated, which is like reduction in the product life cycles, which is again driven by some of these factors all coming in together.
So the auto industry has dramatically changed. I'm sure this changes if you do. You have to see from various lenses. One from the R&D, importing of components, production, supply chain, basically even the dealership level, and then finally the customer journey, the entire thing.
Right.
Now let's take piece by piece, because I'm thinking all of these are interlinked to each other. So the changes which are driven, and there are two ways of looking at it. One, I look at the entire value chain, right from R&D to final product to customer, and again the cycle.
Right.
Second, I look at the entire ecosystem which is getting changed, impacted by external forces.
Right.
External forces could be in terms of government policy, government regulations, customer desires, customers' aspirations, world trade trends or world trade policies, or even trends, global trends which are becoming mainstream here. So there is dramatic things which are happening, which is part of it.
Right.
Now let's look at from various pieces, from the change of R&D or the research and development, developing products, to the final customer. What all have changed? And this change would have happened in the last 5-7 years because you see more of digital, electronics, as you mentioned. So just try to understand that.
So I think, if you look at the value chain, as you said, so if we start from research and development, right, we see one is clearly time to market of products is being shortened as much as possible, for which even in design and development, a lot of technologies are being leveraged. AI ML is being increasingly leveraged for, say, designing.
So this is actually happening now, or it is a buzzword at the moment?
No, it started happening. So if you look at, for example, how the Chinese automotive industry is reducing the product development life cycle, they are using AI in a big way in designing. So they have this repository of all the designs. So anytime you want to go in there, it's being used. We also see now applications coming in software packages. So when, say, a designer earlier had to put all the commands to say, make a, say a part, right? But now with the LLMs, the large language models that are coming in, you could give prompts. I want a chamfer of this much, I want a hole of this much, and the machine does it for you. So all that is reducing time. Apart from things which are becoming more and more mainstream, like rapid prototyping, more and more digital twin being leveraged and things like that. So that's all happening in the product development life cycle. Also, we see sort of specialization. So more and more sort of full service suppliers. So they develop the part for you, and that comes in. You are just giving the specification. That's also started to increase in a large manner. So all that is happening on the product development side. And very importantly, with software-driven vehicles, the paradigm is changing a lot more because, as you know, in the software industry, the product life cycle is even shorter. So all of that is also getting into the R&D domain of it. So that's on R&D. Then if we come to manufacturing, again, we are seeing a lot of changes coming in there. One is on how the workers use. So, VR, AR enabled dexterity trainings are coming in. We're also looking at more and more sort of mass customization enabled manufacturing setups, also setups that can be tweaked to, something like micro factories, which are very close to the customer. Those kind of things are coming in. We're also seeing manufacturing evolving in a manner that it takes care of things like high voltage, say for electrification, light weighting, for example, spot welding getting replaced by adhesive joining in some places, and things like that. So all that is happening, apart from the whole IoT and connectivity and all that in the manufacturing plant, so that you have all this data, you can do analytics on it and stuff like that. That's happening. Then when we move from, say, this place to the customer side, on the dealerships, we've seen a lot of that happen in India also. Now customers can see sort of 360-degree views of the car without going into the showroom. We are seeing all that has become digital as an interface. We're also seeing evolutions of that model, like the agency sales model with some OEMs have tried out now, those kind of things also coming in. And then further on, even in the after sales side of it, like over the air updates of software, remote diagnosis, all of that is coming in, which is also making the customer journey much easier. And finally, on the resale side of it also, we already are talking about battery passports, etc. for EVs. We're going to start talking about vehicle passports also, especially when we go into, say, Euro 7 and all of that. So even on that side, we'll see a lot of those trends coming. A lot of changes.
Now, I'm asking this question from people who went into manufacturing. Basically, you said you are also a mechanical engineer. You are a very good mechanical engineer. I was a mechanical engineer by accident. So I'll just take a question. What people learned in mechanical engineering, I'm talking from those people perspective.
Right.
And today, the issues which you have highlighted, the technology highlighted, are just not, were never taught or never in the realm of mechanical engineering. So what is your input or advice or guidance to people who are in the manufacturing area, who went into automobile, whether they went to R&D, whether production, whether supply chain, how they will have to update their skills?
Right. So one is, I think some of that has happened gradually. So, for example, if you take few years back, everything was mechanical, then we started getting electronic inputs to it. Drive-by-wire was the buzzword of many things, and, people adopted that thing. Some of those have been on-the-job training, some specialized sessions. We had, specific technical consultants come in. Also, suppliers took the lead in some of those areas. Technology from overseas also came in. Today, we are seeing industry academia collaborations increasing a lot in that area.
But for a person who's in manufacturing, he or she has to upgrade their skills to make it relevant. We are finding in the IT industry, a lot of people are becoming redundant.
Right.
And which is a big challenge. It's not very visible in the manufacturing or the auto industry.
Right.
But if we have this scenario is coming,
correct.
What should professionals do?
I think as people, one is to be abreast of what is the latest, do those reskilling programs time to time. But, there's a slight difference in the IT industry. The change happens very rapidly.
Faster,
right?
So
here we still have that portfolio of something legacy, something ICE, something EV, something hybrid. So sort of the lead time is higher for you to change. Exactly. One should make use of that lead time to skill up.
As they say, Hindi परिवर्तन की गति अभी भी कम है. So there is time to catch up. But still, you cannot be complacent.
Yes. Yeah. We can be, ignoring that. But would we get more time than we get in, say, some of those industries?
That's a very interesting perspective which you were given. Now, coming to when I look at products, and let's shift the lens to customers now.
Right.
The products which are there today, I mean, the changes in the product happening. They could happen because of various reasons. They could happen because there will be global trends. Today we are connected globally. They could happen because government is driving regulations on emission and safety. They could happen on customers' conveniences, comforts, and also customer aspirations. So I'm just trying to say, if you have to take in a very simple form from a customer perspective, what are the changes which happened and have been driven by which forces?
Okay, sure. So I think as you talked about, all of these elements, let me first start with the customer-driven changes, right? One is we've seen, as I was talking earlier, personas have become more and more distinct, right? And they want things that align more and more with their lifestyle. And this is, and this lifestyle is also when they are using other products, right? So you're using household gadgets, using your smartphones, smartwatches, wearables, all of that. And then, what sort of tech and what sort of features they are seeing in that. They want those to come into the vehicle as well.
And this product is much more expensive.
Is much more exactly. So they definitely demand all of that there. Connectivity is one key thing that you see, in coming in sort of large shape and size because of this. That's one thing. Second is also the comfort features that they are demanding. Then it's also in terms of styling, right? Like sunroofs, for example, every car without a sunroof, with a sunroof, there's sort of a very divided.
Whether it's required or not, that's a different thing.
That's a different thing. But, just from the styling, just from the factors, even for that matter, ADAS, you may not use all the features, but you would want the features. Therefore, we understand that alerts are preferred more over assist.
Alerts over assist,
right? So if the alerts come in, my car looks more futuristic, and it's an added layer of safety, but given the Indian Brownian motion on the roads, I'm not very sure if the assist is going to work in the best one. So, alerts are more and more preferred. That's one thing we've seen. So, these kind of features we're seeing, also automatic transmissions, given the, kind of traffic we have. So I think all of that has been customer driven, and apart from also the SUV body styling and things, given a little bit of might is right on our roads, kind of potholes.
But they existed before even.
They existed before, but the kind of proliferation we see now across segments, across price brackets. If everybody is demanding an SUV, and you see close to about 50% of the market coming in because of that.
So that has driven by from customer's perspective.
From
now
the
looking from the government perspective, regulations, and policies, because there's a lot of always debate, whether this is required. India as a country, are we? I mean, there's a lot of issues which are there. So what are the changes which are driven by regulations?
So I think a variety of those as well. One was...
So biggest change, I remember the seat belts of 20 years back. What used to call, they used to call them just sort of a belt only.
Belt only, yes.
I don't know what they were called, but how that has changed.
So now, of course, one was the airbags thing. It's become more and more
common. Just to get from my idea, if airbags, seat belts were there, how many seat belts were manufactured 20 years back and how many is manufactured today?
Okay, that's a tough one. I won't know the exact numbers.
The numbers
but,
proportion.
But I think, say the, at least airbags were in, say, the top-end models. And of course, the luxury segment,
so
right?
very few, very minuscule.
And Europeans probably had slightly more penetration in their vehicle portfolio when they came in. But now you see it's across the board. 6 airbags, almost everybody is putting
if I take, suppose, if I take passenger vehicles and we say 3.5 million.
Right.
And you're talking of 6 airbags, and let me take 5 as a thing.
Right.
It comes to 17.5 lakhs airbags in a month, and if I take it to the point is that it comes to 200 lakhs or 20 million airbags, which would not be even a million.
Yes. So that's a huge change. That's a huge change. Also, if we see policy, for example, the sub 4 meter rule was there, right? So that's also probably.
Now this is on. Let's keep on safety and emissions.
Okay, sure.
So these are rules on safety.
Right.
So safety, one is you said is in terms of airbags.
Right.
And seat belts.
Right. Airbags.
Any other things which have moved on safety parameters?
Of course, those speed warning and things like that have come in. Those are sort of thing. Also, crash safety has evolved. Hence, crumple zones, pedestrian safety, child safety. All of those things have also moved in tandem. So that's, I think, become quite a a mainstream phenomenon. And that's partly regulations, partly also through the NCAP star rating program. People have become more and more.
But that also is driven by regulation to some extent.
Yeah, but that is more voluntary. So you get a star rating, So, but people have, because manufacturers have advertised it. People have become more.
So don't have it, they'll have to.
So so it's become somewhere part of the
decision-making criteria. Something which is by law ordained, and
Correct.
something not by law, but somebody started following it, so you also have to follow
it's coming, so that's there. So also on the emission side of it, of course, many things. Engine downsizing was one thing. Then turbocharging coming in with that. Then also various aerodynamic features.
So these Euros 2, 3, 4, 6, and then within 6 also there's a 6 plus or something which is there. Like iPhone, you have a 14 plus of this thing.
The RD, which is real drive emissions that are coming.
So that's a dramatic change, yeah?
That's a dramatic change, especially when we leapfrogged also from BS4 to BS6. That was a big change. Also the kind of emission limits that came in.
So what would we say BS2 emission, if I have to compare in number of times in carbon monoxide or whatever the emissions are, in number of times reduction? Say 6 versus 2.
I mean, offhand, I don't know the exact number, but I think it would be an order of magnitude difference between them. That's there.
So it will be what, 5 times, 8 times, 6 times or more?
Perhaps even more.
So you are saying that the emissions which have laws which have come in, if 15 years back, today the vehicle is emitting those poisonous gases or whatever you call them, carbon monoxide.
Correct.
1/6 of what was there before.
Also, there were certain limits were not in place then, which have now come in. We're talking of like particulate number.
So that's what I'm saying.
So all of those things.
So certain things are not in place at all, and certain things are in placement.
And now, if we talk about Euro 7, which is brewing in Europe, you'll see even non-emission related things come in, like tire dust, brake dust. Those things will also come in, and then people will be able to say, okay, we didn't think about microplastics then. Now even microplastic emissions are being talked about when you look at the vehicle, or durability of the battery, conformance for much more number of kilometers and things like that.
So one of the questions which is asked, which is not technology, a lot of people are saying, and this is coming in passenger vehicles even, but especially in two-wheelers, that the two-wheeler market has stagnated for the last 6 years. In 2019, we touched the figure of 21 million domestic market. We are still not going to touch it in 2026 financial year. So 7 years. And if you take passenger vehicles, although the market has grown much better than that, but if you take the small car, which used to be 40%, and when I say small car, I don't mean 4 meter, I mean the 3 meter, has just shrunk to 3 to 4%. So a lot of people saying that in our quest for too much of emissions and safety focus on, we are keeping a large section of people outside the ambit of motorization. What's your view on that?
Well, I think, so two parts to that answer. One is there's been a lot of stress in the lower strata of society, which is reflective of two-wheelers, which is reflective of the small cars that is there. So one is those people have not had their incomes bounce back. Since 2019, and that includes
but price
many
also going
sectors.
up dramatically.
Price, and the other is the so the other part is the prices going up,
and it goes at a higher proportion in smaller vehicles or lesser vehicles because the cost is same.
Correct. So as a percentage, it goes up. The incomes have not increased in that proportion. So naturally, car ownership becomes difficult for that set of people, and that's where it is reflecting in both these segments that you talked about.
So clearly there is nothing. And some people raise that a country like Japan has some K K
cars,
model, K
yeah.
concept, which
Right,
is there, that they follow a different policy for in terms of smaller vehicles or entry-level vehicles.
Right,
Is that a practicality or is it a theoretical dream?
So that is there, and it's been done on account of various reasons. The emissions of those cars are small.
But in India, we are not having any differentiation on that count.
India, not, except that, say, the GST is slightly lower.
That's a taxation issue. But I'm talking of in terms of what is getting into the vehicle.
Yeah, no, that's not there. That's not there in India right now. That's not there. Yeah.
The other question is, customer expectations or convenience and aspirations is one part.
Right.
How much would you think is driven, especially the regard to safety and emissions, driven by the customer if the government had not taken this action?
Right.
Because people are saying here we talk of six seat belts,
Right.
6 airbags and seat belts
Right.
front and rear. What is the compliance? Nothing.
Yeah.
So that means it's not driven by customers, or the customers not perceiving a value to it.
Right.
So what needs to be done? Because one side we are raising the bar on and on and on, and the other side, whatever you raise the bar, there's no usage.
So I think enforcement is a big problem. I mean, you were talking of seat belts and all of that. I think even driving on the right side of the road is an issue and all of that. So that's a big enforcement challenge which is there. Technology is also being used for that, like we are talking of AI cameras and all of that coming in. So that's a big enforcement challenge that is there. But say if the government had not also introduced these safety technologies, I think that's where I was talking about the star rating thing, which sort of has sensitized consumers when they are going out there to buy a vehicle. They are talking about what is the star rating of this vehicle, how safe is this vehicle. So I think that has entered the mind space of the customer across a variety of segments, especially the more affluent urban customer to a large extent, and that's where they have started demanding it. Now the irony of that may be that even after buying that, they may not use a child seat to put the child in it. They may not use it.
What would be, just from your rough estimate, usage of rear seat belts in percentage terms?
I think it would be very low. I mean,
low. Could you quantify it? Could you think what would be? I've got a figure in my mind. I'm trying to test your figure.
Maybe 10%.
I would put it 2%.
Okay, 2%.
Maybe 10%. If 10%, I'll be too happy.
2%.
I'm talking rear seat belts, not front seat belts.
Because that reminder is there, but after a while that goes out. Sometimes you take one of these shared cabs and you see the guy has plugged in the seat belt so that it doesn't make any noise.
So then there's a question of not enforcement, even education.
Education also, yes.
So that we have not moved up the chain.
I think that is more systemic, because if you see like countries like Japan, all this is part of the curriculum of students in school itself, right? Now, for example, SIAM's taken a big initiative with the Kendriya Vidyalayas to, catch them early, because if you catch them early, they'll be able to imbibe these in their formative years and then become more responsible drivers, passengers, pedestrians, all of that. So hopefully that changes, but yeah, right now that education and enforcement both is a challenge.
If you look at the changes which are coming, and I mean, they must be costing, each of these changes cost money.
Right.
Is the cost even going down? Like a lot of people said, airbags are very expensive. Now, the airbags are not that expensive. So, is it because of the economies of scale work in that area?
Yes, they do. So, economies of scale on both sides. One is the development cost. So, it's not just the material cost of the airbag, but development of the vehicle with airbags so that the airbag opens at the right time and the right operating conditions. You don't want also false airbag opening. You also don't want an airbag not opening. So that testing cycle also consumes a lot of time, effort and money. Apart from the material cost of the airbag and the packaging cost of that airbag, all of that taken account. So yes, if you are having it across the portfolio, then naturally economies of scale do kick in. Or this cost of development gets apportioned over more vehicles.
Now, one of the buzzwords and which is always discussed is different fuels. And we're talking like a rainbow coalition. Every day you hear a different word. We had petrol, diesel, we had CNG, we had hybrid, then we had EVs, and now we have this biofuel and whatnot, and now we talk about hydrogen. So just demystify the thing. What is relevant for where? Where are we moving? Because it must be a nightmare for people who are developing vehicle. What to do? And where are we moving? What technology is moving at what pace? What is good is something different, but what technology is moving at what pace? And what is the benefit of each of the technologies? Let's take petrol, diesel, we all know of. Anything beyond that?
So I think petrol, sort of blended with ethanol, which is E10
that's another question we'll discuss, because that's the controversy number one today, nowadays, so we'll discuss on that. But
So apart from that, I think electrification we put in sort of two parts. One is hybrid, and second is pure electrics. I think pure electrics certainly give the advantages of cleanest form of mobility. Of course, emissions coming in due to the grid and manufacturing, but still much cleaner on an overall perspective. Also, that would be the direction to go in the long term. So, but we are still seeing 2.5–3% kind of penetration that's happening there. The other is hybridization, which we've seen grow quite fast in the recent past, which helps reduce the amount of fuel you're consuming. So, you could operate on an electric, purely electric mode, or electric plus, ICE mode, depending on, state of charge, the kind of power you need from the vehicle, so on and so forth. I think that's a good solution for cutting down both emissions and the import bill. So we see that. Third is, of course, CNG, which has been a silent revolution in India.
Now, CNG was a topic which was not discussed too much.
Right.
And, government also doesn't talk of it.
Right.
And we are somewhat, I think, fairly, dependent on foreign technology or foreign material for CNG. Am I right in that?
Yeah, I mean, it's
very
localized. Yes.
So, what has driven this I call CNG as the silent,
revolution,
fuel.
yeah.
And I call it the Ajay Devgan of the film industry, because Ajay Devgan never won big awards, but he's always at the top and he continues to be the top.
Right.
So how has that happened?
So I think,
and whereas if I compare with EV,
right,
EV has benefit of 4%, 5% GST. CNG doesn't have the benefit of that GST.
Right.
So what has happened? And I just want to understand between the two.
So I think one is, so CNG, with the actions of the PNGRB, Petroleum Natural Gas Regulatory Board, now we had the city gas distribution network set up across the country. So we cover now 90% plus 95% of the country with the CGDs, right? And that's where the CNG stations have come in, and and there's been a widespread proliferation of those that has happened. Also, this when these CGDs are set up, you also supply pipe natural gas to the households, right? That is more expensive for the operators of that CGD. When they start selling to industry and to vehicles, they are able to cross-subsidize that network. So it is also in their interest to set up more and more of these, right? Then is the simplicity of the technology. You've been able to indigenize it, and the operating costs are much better. So we've seen earlier it was the public transport segment or the commercial segment, that was embracing it more and more. Now we see also the personal vehicle segment has started embracing it more, partly because of the fact that the stations increased, so the lines at the CNG stations reduced, and the technology became more and more refined. So, power drop and all those things started becoming a thing of the past. So that's something, which has driven this by leaps and bounds. Some manufacturers, for example, Maruti Suzuki has a very wide-ranging portfolio of, CNG. Tata Motors has done innovations in the packaging so that, the boot space doesn't go out and things like that. So I think there have been a lot of factors that have helped. And now also the commercial vehicle side of it, that's seen that.
But CNG in emission terms, in the net emission terms, where does it stand? If you said petrol is one side, and EVs are the side, where does CNG stand?
It'll be in the middle. Yeah, I mean, not absolutely middle, but I mean better than petrol in some aspects, but yeah, of course, worse than.
And it is making economic sense.
It's making economic sense.
Because without much of government subsidy, it is working.
Yes. So that is, of course, the Kirit Parikh committee came up with that pricing, which gave the long-term visibility on pricing and things like that. So that has helped. But there isn't like a GST benefit or things like that. And now we also see CBG, which is compressed biogas, going in that direction, so which will also reduce the imports of natural gas coming in, so it becomes more and more indigenous to
and
that
these
extent.
CBG there's possible to do it on an economic basis.
It is possible to do it. Yeah. So the challenge has been feedstock sourcing, but now as increasingly we see people have been tying up with, say, sugar mills, buying their byproducts and then doing it. So it's been going up. Yeah, that also.
So now I come to this big debate about, and I don't want you to take sides in it, and I don't want you to, because there will be their manufacturers split in two parts in four-wheelers. There is a EV lobby or a EV voice, and there is a hybrid voice. Now, I'm not going to get into that part of it. But now, just from technology perspective, technology, cost, emissions, just try to demystify this.
Okay. So I think from a technology perspective, I mean, there is a lot of commonality in parts between hybrid and EV. So the battery comes in both, the motor comes in both, just that the size of the battery is much larger in case of EVs, right? And you have a main traction motor coming in and things like that. So, you know, the content of this material, which is not within the country, in an EV is much more. And also then when you have things in a bigger size, also the controls, say for example, cooling of that battery and things like that is slightly more complicated, and the related electronic content also goes up as compared to hybrid, which has lower, you know, sort of raw materials for the battery because it's a smaller battery, and things like that happening. So that is on sort of, you know, how indigenous it can be in terms of, say, the content getting into the vehicle. The second is, of course, in terms of emissions, yes, the emissions of BEVs will be lower because, you know, only what is the emission that is going in either for the electricity, which the grid is still not decarbonized.
But the grid is still,
that's what I'm saying. So that is coming in.
End-to-end emissions, where does it stand?
Of course, it's slightly better than hybrids, of course, because of.
So the gap lowers when you take end-to-end.
It lowers, yes, it lowers. Of course, if you take only tank to wheel, yeah, there won't be anything because you know there's no emission coming in. But if you, of course, take the emissions of the grid coming in, yes, it will be the gap narrows. But yes, still better. That is there. So that's on the emissions side of it, as we see it. Yeah.
And costing, is it dramatic difference?
There is a difference, yes, because you know, you have a larger battery.
But larger battery itself, because one side you have a lower GST even, and that side you have a GST, but still, is this that substantial?
It is because of you know, the larger battery that is going in, also a large motor.
Or also there are some connections beyond the battery.
There also, yes, those things also going in. So you know, the cooling circuit.
So
will be more
suppose we
complicated,
took a I mean, it's a very simple question. I don't think it will be a ready answer for it, but just for a basic thing. Suppose you took a hybrid ecosystem.
Right.
Vis-a-vis in terms of cost,
right,
vis-a-vis a pure EV ecosystem.
Right.
And if hybrid EV ecosystem was 100
right,
for the same size of the vehicle,
right,
what would be an EV ecosystem costing? We are forgetting the GST, everything, the costing part.
Yeah, so the costing part, you know, if it would be at least about 140.
40% higher?
Yeah, sort of.
40% higher.
40% higher, yes.
So 40 to 45% higher.
Yes.
That is why you need to subsidize it also. Otherwise, otherwise it's a part
it still
of
remains, higher.
And in terms of moving the technology, moving to smaller vehicles,
right,
how transplantable, because today we are seeing in hybrid slightly bigger vehicles.
Yes.
And EV, you are still seeing smaller vehicles. But how transplantable is it to smaller vehicles, more compact engines? Hybrid.
It is transplantable. I mean,
in smaller vehicles.
But we also, you know, then talk about what is sort of the series hybrid, where the, you know, engine is just used to, it's a smaller engine that runs at a more stable RPM, charges a battery, and the battery drives a motor, and the motor drives the vehicle. So, you know, so that kind of technology may also come in, which is simpler than.
So there is possibility of that.
There is a possibility, yes.
So both are existing side by side.
Right.
Yes. And sometimes they are not competing with each other. They are probably getting market from different segments even.
They are getting market from different segments. I think they are also probably unknowingly also helping each other. You know, on the one hand, you see more of the ecosystem getting developed, right? Then if somebody is using, say, a hybrid today, maybe when that person has to upgrade, he might have got comfortable with, say, you know, the EV mode. We don't have any plug-in hybrids right now, but if plug-in hybrids also come, that person might also start getting more and more comfortable with also charging, and then, you know, moving to a BEV. So you know, somewhere there could be unknowingly some sort of a symbiotic relationship.
संगम होगा, बोल रहा था, बोल संगम होगा, कहीं कि संगम होने की उम्मीद है उसकी, which is there. Now coming to, you know, the 3-4 abbreviations which are used a lot, and a lot of people said we are totally confused on this. One is FAME. Other is cafe, which is now this is heard a lot, and then there is this PLI. So demystify these, and is there a relationship between these or no, or is there some linkages to this? And cafe is the one which is the most confusing at the moment. So if you have to demystify cafe, and people are saying cafe norms will come, prices will go up, but emissions will go down. What is exactly this cafe?
So cafe is, you know, sort of corporate average fuel economy. So basically, it's some product of the weight of the vehicle and the emissions of the vehicle in terms of CO2 or mileage divided by, you know, sort of the total sales. So the average, you know, for every OEM has to come below a threshold.
So basically, it measures emission.
Measures emission, yes.
And in some way, emission has a linkage to fuel efficiency even.
Yes, exactly. So, there's a
so
direct
we are
linkage
trying to
that.
reduce emissions dramatically.
Dramatically. So for that, then you come in with more and more technologies into the vehicle. On say the powertrain, on even say aerodynamics, lightweighting is a big thing there, which then comes with either reducing less of a material, using an alternate material, those or not using something,
and
those kind
the
of things.
movement from CAFE 2 to CAFE 3, which they're saying
right.
is dramatic.
Yeah, so I mean the exact limits have not come out, but yes, it is expected to become more and more dramatic.
What is so complex on these limits that they don't come out?
So I think a variety of things need to be taken into account. One is where we are as the industry, what would be kind of the impact on the sticker price of the vehicle, because we are a highly cost sensitive market, right? So those all things come in. Plus also if we take that leap, how much of this can be indigenized, how much of will need to be imported. So I think variety of those factors get in when we are talking about this. Also, when you get stringency on this, OEMs also need to say at the same time invest in electrification and things like that. So, how much of the money will have to be diverted here, and therefore will that start affecting what we are trying to do in terms of other cleaner forms of mobility and stuff like that. So therefore it does take time. So that's on CAFE.
Tell me,
I think your other two were FAME and
this thing.
Yeah. So FAME of course now is sort of subsumed by the PME drive scheme. So this was basically,
it's more on electric only.
It's on electric, yes. So it's a way to incentivize
electrification.
Yes. So that's it. PLI is of course linked to production. So you produce a certain amount of products and of advanced.
But you want to produce those products which you don't have indigenous.
Yeah, so there are defined categories. AAT, advanced automotive technologies, their products categorized under that. If you produce them in certain volume and say with a 50% local content, then you become eligible for those. So there is one on auto components, there's one on battery. So those PLI schemes are there. So those are for the supply side of it. FAME and PME drive on the demand side of it.
Now coming to the one topic which is the buzzword in newspapers in the last 7 days is this ethanol thing. And if you the more voices you hear, the more confused you are. Right. Now there is something which people say that the output or the efficiency goes down because you put ethanol, but it's probably more emission friendly, which is there. Right. But some people say that there is a damage to the engines or the vehicles which are manufactured later. Right. So technically if you look at it, how much is clear and how much is hazy today? Where you can say with conviction that this is there, but how much is this which we don't know of, because there is no clear one voice emerging.
Yeah, so I mean, just as you said, so there are a variety of opinions that are coming on that.
But let's go to fundamentals now, more than opinions.
Yes, so I think fundamentals, yes. So, when you put more and more percentage of ethanol, you need to do material compatibility of say the hoses, rings, gaskets, all of that. Plus also, what sort of sediments form in say the nozzles, etc. So, I mean, the exact conclusive technical reports are not out, so it will be premature for me to, comment on that. But I think that's where the whole confusion is, that if you take an older generation of the vehicle, how does it behave with a fuel of this sort in terms of these components?
So it will definitely have a more detrimental impact on older vehicles.
So yeah, that's what people are questioning, because see the newer vehicles, they anyway have been completely
compatible
but what is happening on the old ones? So of course there was a factor of safety already, because we had E10, E5, E10, all of that.
But now it's E20 everywhere.
It's E20. So of course some factors of safety would have already been baked in, but say a vehicle of higher vintage, what is sort of the impact, which is where the technical reports have to come out.
Now coming to one current issue, the China plus one strategy we talked of. Today, the more, if 15 years back, when I was in the auto industry, you felt that we have become self-sufficient in auto industry, 92% indigenization, 95, 97. It's like the CBSE marks which people get these days, But somehow these marks have gone down.
That's a good analogy.
So what has happened there? What is the reason for it? What is this? Nobody talks of this indigenization percentage now.
So I think...
And people say that for everything we hear, we get one more shock. Kabhi semiconductor aa jata hai, and rare earth magnet, nobody heard the word. Today every person in the industry or every person who reads about the industry says rare earth magnet. So what are these things coming across? Does it show that we have not developed sufficiently, or we want to take advantage of the global chain? Where are we?
So I think definitely, as you talk about the evolution in the last 10 years, even if you talk of ICE
So have we
vehicles,
taken one step back, or have we lost out somewhere in the race? Because after 95%, if we are back to 85%, there is
correct.
something somewhere.
Yeah, so I think the electronics manufacturing in the country has not taken off as much as we would have wanted to. So we still continue to import large amounts of electronic content, right? Even in semiconductors. Now we are talking about setting up semiconductors, but again, we will be talking about more of the legacy nodes than the more sort of higher tech nodes that come in. So that has had an impact in terms of this localization coming in. Then when we talk of alternate powertrains, yes, some of it is also, because of the fact that we actually do not have some of the materials, like say what are needed for the lithium-ion batteries. We don't have them, so we have to import them. Then we've probably not had enough of an application go in terms of technology, to be able to make have the recipe makers here to be able to make those electrodes and all of that.
Is it really right to say, I mean, I'm not making a sweeping statement, somewhere we missed the bus somewhere in the last 10 years.
Yes, so
we are realizing it now.
We are realizing it, yeah, on some of these things. For example, we have rare earths, right? But we export those rare earths because we don't have the refining capabilities. Now, China, if you see, starting with the 80s, they've invested in perfecting the rare earth refining technology.
So that's something so one side we want to become Atmanirbhar, the other side is you become Make in India.
Right.
It's all right, if you do Make in India, you probably have to import something also. You can't make in India everything 100%.
Right.
Now, we come into the last part of a section. If we really need to go, and we are saying we are the largest two-wheeler, we are third largest in passenger vehicle, largest in tractors.
Right.
For every segment of the industry you take out, we are in the top 3-4.
Right.
Because the population, the penetration of the low can only go up.
Right.
If we have to become not only our hub, but become a global hub.
Right.
What is some 3-4 things which you think, and we have 4-5 stakeholders. We have manufacturers, we have auto ancillaries, we have policy or government, we have industry associations, and we have academia.
Right.
Now, if we say these are the 5 churnings people which are there at the 5, what do you think, crystal gazing, what if we have to go forward, what we need to do?
Sure.
4-5 clear steps.
Yeah, so I think one will be in terms of dramatically cutting down product development times. So, one of the key sort of strong points of the Chinese automotive industry, very, very fast to market, large proliferation of variety, they do that. So, for that, a couple of steps will need to be taken. First and foremost, something which is often not talked of as much is the tooling industry. So, we are the only country which is amongst the top 5 automotive markets, but not amongst the top 10, 12 tooling markets.
We have nothing.
We have very little of that, right? So I think a lot of push will have to come in that sector. It's largely SMEs in that sector. So, so the government will have to play its part, the industry will have to play its part, so as to, really ramp up that sector.
That's one area.
Because that will give us that control over crunching this part of the product development time. That also included steels, etc., where, players have started taking initiatives to make the specialty steels and all in the country, but this tool making, that will be one thing.
That's one area.
Then is on the product development process itself, where we'll have to leverage 2-3 things. One is software-defined vehicles becoming more and more of the norm, leverage more and more of our software industry. That will also have to ramp itself up, because a lot of these vehicle softwares and the way they are done is still, a lot of it is happening outside, so that will be one part. Second would be, as I said in the initial part of our discussion, about, leveraging AI and those techniques, digital twins, all of that to crunch down this product development time. Right? Not everything will need to be physically tested, virtual testing taking up a large part of this, so that this time to market gets crunched. Right. And of course, all of this needs the manpower part, which I'll come to at the later part of this. Then will also be in terms of not just vehicle R&D, but also R&D in terms of, say, battery, the electrodes, the chemistries, right? So we'll have to get those recipe makers within the country.
Recipe makers.
Yeah. So what?
Presently, they are all residing abroad.
It's all coming from outside. Electrodes mostly are imported. I think Suzuki has just made that recent announcement of the first electrode being localized. Otherwise, a lot of it is coming from outside. So I mean, almost all of it is coming from outside. So that will be there. Then also in technologies, for example, refining of rare earths and things like that, alongside semiconductors. So this is also sort of the extended ecosystem coming in, and we'll have to make sort of targeted interventions in these areas, so as to be able to develop either by getting the technology here, co-developing it with partners, or developing it indigenously, which will all sort of have an increased propensity towards spending on R&D and creating more and more of a research focus here. That will be very, very key, right? And this then gets down to how we are leveraging our industry academia partnerships. So, we'll have to create the likes of the Fraunhofers, ITRIs here, which have very strong industry academia partnerships coming in. Also from a reskilling perspective, because we have a lot of human resource capital, but for us to be able to leverage that human capital, we'll have to reskill it up.
So that academia will be both for research and for reskilling.
Yes, for both of these things, because say even for servicing of these vehicles, manufacturing of these vehicles, all of that will have to come in, where the OEMs will play their part, and they are playing their part with, say, adopting ITIs, all of that, doing some research with the academic institutions. The government will have to have sort of fine-tune its skill development mission to take care of these new age technologies to a very large extent, which also may involve sort of partnerships globally to bring in that know-how and things like that. So that will have to be ramped up in a much bigger manner. Also for the government, there's another thing which is about, some of that bus we missed in terms of securing raw material across the globe. Now, China's done that, like, Congo produces a lot of cobalt, but it's largely Chinese in the lithium triangle of Argentina, Bolivia. Yes, again, it's sort of the similar thing. So that is something also we'll have to do wherever we can. Try to secure some of these raw materials that are needed. We do see some steps like chip manufacturing, which hopefully ramps up, and we start to get more and more electronics and chips coming in.
All these things are combined together as a thing. Now, look at it. If you look at it, there are certain things individual companies will do.
Right.
But how, as an industry, and when I say industry, is all the companies, all the auto ancillaries, and you have organizations like SIAM, ACMA.
Right.
Automotive Skill Development Council, and then you have these associations which are there, ARI, and you have VRD, and you have the other things. How this thing has to work together?
Yeah, so I'll just answer that, but before that I forgot one point, which is also around the global capability centers, which are coming more and more in India, and the ESOs will also have to leverage that strength to a large extent to also be able to crunch down this product development time. Now coming to this association part that you're saying, I think one thing.
What is not happening? What should happen? Tell me that.
Yeah, sure. So I think one is they need to come together and see it from the same lens that we were talking about. How to become more and more from a global standpoint. How do we become more and more resilient? For example, what has the Chinese automotive industry done, and therefore what could we do here? As all these associations coming up, because if you look at that, they've done it across the value chain. So the OEMs have done their part, the suppliers have done it. The tool makers, as I said, and of course this whole skilling, reskilling, and investing in advanced technologies has been there. Now the industry associations can become the catalyst to make this happen, because they can be this excellent, sort of conduit between the government and, say, the industry players, and also academia. So I think
on this index or on this catalyst category, suppose on a scale of 1 to 10, where do we all stand today?
I think maybe we are at about 6 or 7.
Are you sure we are at 6?
So we are doing that, at least at least talking about where the industry is. I think that's coming. That's coming, but and it's varied. Some associations are more, some are less. But I think it's also about inter-association collaboration coming in. For example, like we've done a lot of work with some of these associations, and we see that for example, the tooling association probably needs more of hand-holding from some of the more mature associations to bring them there, because ultimately the members of this association will also benefit apart from the tooling association, when say the component makers and the vehicle makers are able to uplift the tooling makers.
So let's do some crystal gazing.
Sure.
We are sitting 2025. Say 2035, where do you think the auto industry will be in terms of size, expertise? Where do you think it is, the way we are progressing, where we will be?
So I think one is in terms of we should become hopefully second largest market by then. China still remains bigger than us.
When you talk of second largest, it's all combined, all industries combined? Or
so I was talking on the PV side of it. Of course, two-wheelers, we continue to be the largest
one. So we should become
that. Yeah, we should become that. We should also see sort of even in the commercial vehicle side of it, largely only heavy trucks and LCVs. The medium sort of gets polarized on these two ends of the spectrum, that kind of a thing coming in. We should also see that electrified portfolios becoming very large, right? Then apart from that, we also expect that CNG would grow and then start to sort of plateau out around 2035, that kind of a thing coming in. Some of our indigenous suppliers becoming sort of much bigger global players, partly due to acquisition, partly due to the growth of the domestic industry. And we're playing a very strong role in markets like Africa, Southeast Asia, and also Latin America, because those are the markets that will be the next drivers of growth. Right? The two-wheeler industry, for example, is very well known in some of these markets. Right. On the
we are not known that
yeah.
much.
So I think the other segments also getting more and more into these markets and leveraging them. One, because we would also probably still having a lot of ICE portfolio. So be able to leverage the economies for these markets like Africa, for example, and be able to make strong inroads there. Set up our subsidiaries there.
A lot of close coordination, cooperation is required. Collaboration, co-creation.
Yes.
My last question is, what we should stop doing, which we are doing, if we have to go up. We have always talked of good things we should do.
Right.
What things? These are three things we should say we will not do. We should not do as an industry.
I think we should not, as an industry, have too many knee-jerk reactions in terms of policy. We need a long-term regulatory roadmap.
There's no policy knee-jerks, and they have to announce well in advance.
Well in advance. So long-term regulatory roadmap, because these are high capex, long gestation time items. So you get that clarity, and you can.
That's for the government now.
Yeah, that's for the government. That's number one.
For the industry.
For the industry, I think get more bold when we have to also look at some of the markets overseas, and also in terms of how we perceive ourselves.
So bold. Big bold audacious.
Yes, big bold audacious.
Which we are not.
I mean, we are getting, but I think more needs to be done. And again, I would say we should look at how the Chinese are doing it.
So China
it's a great test case for a great example for us to also look at in terms of this. We have our inherent strengths. We should leverage them. Frugal engineering, for example, and leverage it for markets. But I think that will need some bold moves to come in. One of those bold moves is spend more and more on R&D. Right? Which if you do, you will be able to reap the benefits of that in the years to come. I think that's the second thing that we definitely need to do. Third and very important is look at this workforce very, very diligently. We need to reskill them. We need to bring those skill sets here. For example, Indians lead a lot of this across the globe, right? I think we need to do a lot, and if the government needs to do a lot to bring that kind of skilling up, capabilities within the country, so that you can skill this workforce, and we are going to have a large young workforce which can really be leveraged, and so the true human capital leveraging will happen, when we do that in a big way. Today, I think it's sort of in bits and pieces. It's not happening in very well coordinated
orchestrated better.
Yeah, orchestrated better. Yes, exactly.
Sure. Great, Ashim. So great to get your perspective, because there are a lot of things regarding the ecosystem, and a lot is changing, and changing at a fast pace. And if we don't, it's like a treadmill, which is only speed is going up. So, so we need to go up, and you have shed light on it, where we stand and what needs to be done. So thank you for all the insights, and thank you for being very free, frank, and fearless in your views and opinions. And obviously, you are always analytical, insightful. That's it. Thank you
very much. Thank you.